Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah, and we are going to go ahead and give a little explanation on today's parashot. This Torah portion talks about the command that Yahweh gives to the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, according to the Torah and according how they shall light up the menorah, the 7 candlesticks. And this Torah portion we will discuss mostly what shall be the protection that each one of us shall have, especially in this day and age. In this day and age, we are living in peril times. In this day and age, we are living in times that we need to be protected by our Kadosh Baruch Hu, by our Creator, Yahweh Sebaot. We must be protected, and we need to know how to protect ourselves with the dark forces. The reason why I'm telling you this is because this Torah portion talks a lot about protection and also has a lot to do with the enlightenment. Before we start, I will plead with you to subscribe if you have not done so you can get the latest production. We are constantly producing music, of course, videos, teachings, Torah portions, and so forth. We are bringing so much to the table, so we, you guys, and myself, we can all learn from the Torah, and we grow from the Torah, from our Creator. We learn more about our Mashiach, the character of our Mashiach. So let's jump into this. Once again, I will ask you if you have not ready with notes and paper, so you can take notes, because some of these things that we discuss, some of these things are not slides. We just say it. So in this Torah portion, Parashat Tetzaweh, we learn how this shall be encountered in a Hebraic mentality. Chapter 27, verse 20, all the way to 30, verse 10, about 30 chapters. Parashat Tetzaweh, it should Tetzaweh, you should command to the children of Israel that they should take for you pure crushed olive oil for the lighting, to keep the lamp burning continuously. This command, the word command, is actually from the root word sabah, which means to command, to impose, to charge, to order. This is one of the root words that we come from the word that we all know, that is word mitzvah. Mitzvah is the word for savah, which means to order. Our Creator is giving us 613 mitzvot, 613 orders, commands, chargings, or directions, so we understand better, so we know how to live a meaningful life in the light of the Torah, in front of our Creator Yahweh. These directions are for our own good, not to impose like some tyrant over us. But instead, this is something that the Creator is literally commanding. Also, I would like to make mention of this. Chapter 27, verse 35, fulfill all these sibol, these commands. So I have given you, regarding Aharon and his sons, you will spend 7 days dedicating yourself as kadosh, as set apart to them. So what we see here is that this command that Yahweh is giving to our forefathers at that particular time was for their own good. This command was to be aware of the things that they were to be encountered with. This command was the command to lighten this menorah. If you notice here, brothers and sisters, each menorah, and this menorah, these 7 candlesticks, it has lamps. It has 7 lamps on top, each one of them pointing at the center. See, notice here, pointing at the center, the right, the left, and the right. Right in the middle, this one is called the shamash. Shamash is the one in the middle. Shamash also means, from the Hebrew to English, it means the servant. If you notice, to count from right to left or left to right, it gives you to number 4. Our Mashiach came in the 4th millennium. Our Mashiach is also titled the servant. All this is very important because these are not merely something that coincidental, but rather codified. Our Creator codifies all this so we understand what He meant when He speaks about the Torah in this age. Now, I want to switch gears, and I do want to talk about our protection as Israelis, as Hebrews, as the house of Israel. How we should protect ourselves, we need to know how. Because it's obvious if we don't know how we're going to protect ourselves, it's obvious that we need to know how. 1 Peter 2:9, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a kadosh, a set-apart nation, a redeemed congregation, that you may proclaim the virtues of Him who called you out of the darkness into marvelous light. If you notice here, the Creator speaking through Kepha, Peter, Shimon, we notice that he's talking about from darkness to light, exactly what the menorah does. This menorah is enlightened to all of us. This Mashiach is the menorah. We are the lamps. We need to give light, bear light to the nations. But look at what it says, verse 10. You were once not a people, but now are declared to be the people of Yahweh. You were once have not obtained mercy or rachamim, but now obtain mercy. Where do we get this verse 10 from? This is basically paraphrasing or giving a reference somewhere in the Tanakh, somewhere in the Old Testament, so you understand what I'm saying. And you will find this verse, this reference, in the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and also chapter 2, but merely chapter 1. He's talking about the house of Ephraim, the house of Israel, the northern kingdom. This northern kingdom are us. Very important because we come from all the nations. The nations that we come from are the ones that Yahweh is gathering all of us from every directions of the world. Ephraim, the house of Israel, is coming back to our Creator. Shemo, or Exodus 19 verse 6, and you should be a kingdom of priests, Kohanim, for me, a Kodesh nation, a set-apart nation. These are the words that you must speak to the children of Israel. If you notice in chapter 19, Yahweh is not speaking to the Levites, to the Levim, but rather to the entire children of Israel. He said that the entire nation it's considered as, at that particular time, as kingdom of priests, kingdom of Kohanim. Why? Because at that particular time, Yahweh set our forefathers to be given that crown. That crown was taken away from them when the golden calf sin happened. When this event happened, Yahweh took away the crown of the kingdom of priests, and it was given to our brothers, the Levites. But remember what it was, it will be again. Ecclesiastes chapter 1:9. We know for a fact that it's a pattern to follow, it's a principle to follow through, and we know that since our Creator gave to begin with this command, this seva, this order for all the children of Israel to be a kingdom of priesthood. Look what it says here. Revelation chapter 5 verse 10. And you confirm them as heirs of the kingdom for our Creator Yahweh, to be Kohanim, priests, and to reign over the earth. Here, once again, we are looking at the future set of our Creator from Him to us. Here we see how our Creator is already calling us in the future a kingdom of priesthood, Kohanim. That means that through our Mashiach, a higher level of priesthood, we are obtaining this command. The Levites only have one attribute. Please write it down. One attribute, and that is to be Kohen, to be priests. But the line of Melchizedek has 3 attributes. These 3 attributes are, first one is priest, the second is king, and the third is a prophet. Our Mashiach is following that line of priesthood. Therefore, or thus, we are following the same thing, the priesthood of the Melchizedek, a higher level. So once again, we need to know how to protect. Once again, can we protect ourselves since we are considering be this part of Kohanim or priesthood? Let's follow through. The armor of Yahweh is not the one that is being telling us for a long time, which is the one on the left side. The Roman soldier. No. Remember, and please write this down. In the first century, Jewish people would not mingle with Greeks or Romans. They actually hated them because of previous events in the past. One of them is, I'm sure you remember this festival that we celebrate every year, which is the Hanukkah, the festival of the dedication. And that event that happened, the Greeks went over and slaughtered a pig, and they did so many things that, to make the long story short, by the first century, Jewish brothers were still that animosity against the Romans and against the Greeks, to the point that they didn't want to learn anything about them in neither their language. And who speaks about this? Flavius Josephus, one of the historians around that time. That will be for another time, another video. To make the long story short, we know that Shaul, Paul, speaks about the armor of Yahweh, but he's not speaking about in the Greek, Roman, Catholic, Vatican mind, but rather in the Hebraic mind. And I'm going to prove it to you. This is what the Creator wants from us, the one on the right side. This is the armor of Yahweh, and let's find out why. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 10, furthermore, be strengthened in Yahweh and in the power of his might. Why Shaul speaks about this level of understanding? Why do we need to know this? Why do we need to be empowered, strengthened by Yahweh? There has to be a reason for it. And the reason for it is because just as well there is good, also there is evil. Just as well there is blessings, also there are cursings. Just as well as are priests of Yahweh or Kohanim or a Tzaddik, someone who follows the directions of Yahweh. Also there are Rasha, there are evil people, there are magicians, witchcraft, and so forth. All this is not something we're making up. You know about that because it exists. They empower around 90% of the time with a spiritual level, which means it's real, which means witchcraft is real, which means the secret societies are real, which means they follow the same pattern, the same schooling, all schooling of Mystery Babylon. Why? Because this one is real in their minds and it's real in reality. So if this is real, do you imagine how the Creator wants us to know about this from his Torah? Because it's real. Ephesians 6 verse 1, but put on the whole armor of Yahweh so that you can stand firm against the schemes of Satan, the devil. Why? Because once again, just as well as there is good, also there is evil. Verse 12, so we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, which is something that you can touch and smell, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So we have to understand that there is levels of understanding for us to grasp this notion. There are levels of spirituality, okay, and also there are levels of us understanding that not just because we can touch this wood or the counter or anything that is material, but rather there is a spiritual world field that we can't see, but we know is there. Simple act. Just blow into your hand. We know that you can see the air, but that is what is called ruach, air. Ruach means air. I know they're given the definition of spirit, but in reality it's air. It's defined as air. You know it's there, but you can see it. The same thing with ruach. The ruach, the field of ruach, is something you cannot see with your fleshly eyes, but you know it's there. It exists. These fields, these things that you and I are encountered with so many times, we need to learn how these fields work. And let's jump to the next thing. Verse 13, therefore take up the armor of Yahweh. That's what it says, right? So that you may be able to resist, right? To resist what? In the evil day. How are we going to resist in the evil day, brothers and sisters? By our Creator empowering all of us to understand that there is such a level of understanding. Okay? Once you understand this, you will be able to understand how these dimensions, that's the word, dimensions work. We have to understand, and let me pause here for a moment, there are so many dimensions in here on earth. We tend to think that we only can see it and that's it. That's all there is to it. There are about 9 dimensions that we know of, and this is coming from the scientific world, but there are the ones that are for certain are 4 dimensions. The first dimension is what YHWH speaks about. Okay? And also he speaks about 4th dimension, which is around, in front of you, down, and also up, are 4 dimensions. The first dimension is a picture. The second dimension is when you watch TV. The third dimension is when you are what you're living right now. You turn around everywhere, 360 degrees. That's the third dimension. In the 4th dimension, where is it? It's up there with Kadosh Baruch Hu, our Creator. But there are 9 dimensions, which means that these Ruachim, these Shedim, these evil demons, they dwell among those dimensions. You have to understand the time and the era that we're living, because we need to know. So, verse 14, therefore stand firm, belt up with the belt of truth around your waist, put on the breast of righteousness, and use the feet of readiness for the good news of peace, or shalom. Always carry the shield of faith, which you'll be able to extinguish the fiery arrows of the evil one, and take the helmet of salvation along with the sword given by the Spirit, which is the word of Yahweh. Now, why am I bringing this? For what we are about to find out. And please fasten your seatbelts. Let's continue. Exodus 28 verse 2, and you will make your brother Aharon garments to serve the express dignity and splendor. What? Why am I bringing it with? Because this armor, these garments, were going to serve as a protection. Not just to look very pretty, but rather as a protection. This armor of Yahweh was going to be rather something very crucial in the service of Yahweh. Remember, the Torah speaks very clear that these garments, these Kodesh garments, Okay? The set apart garments were going to be worn 7 days a week. The same thing with us. We need to be worn by the Spirit of Yahweh, by all this armor of Yahweh 7 days a week, not just on Shabbat, or when you have problems, or when you have issues going on with your life, you have to come back to Yahweh. No, it's a way of life. This way of life, you have to maintain that way of life every day. Let's find out about the belt of truth, Emet. Ephesians 6:14, put on the halats in Hebrew is the belt, and of the emet, the truth around your waist. Why? Because without the truth, we're nothing. Without the truth, we have the opposite, which is lies. And that's how the world revolves into lies. Lies are what feeds the world. We don't need that. What we need, you and I, are the truth of Yahweh. We don't want half and half. We don't want lies mix or mingle with truth. But rather, we want the whole entire truth and the truth. What we need to learn is what the Creator wants from us, not traditions. Isaiah 11:4, but you will judge with justice the poor. You will decide with fairness in favor of the humble of the earth. You will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth and kill the wicked with the breath of his lips. Breath of his lips. Righteousness will be the halats, the shash, or the sash around his waist. And faithfulness, the halats, the sash around his hips. Why am I bringing this? It's because this was written 600 years before the first century, which means the prophet Isaiah was not speaking in the Greek mind. He was speaking something that is Hebraic, something that they can relate to, not something foreign. And therefore, what Paul is speaking is the same mind as Isaiah. So let's find out. Leviticus 8 or Vayikra 8 verse 7, and he put the tunic on him, tied the halats, the sash around him, dressed him with the robe, put the ephod on him, wrapped the decorated halats sash around him, and tied the ephod to him with it. Why? Is because what you see right here is what holds the entire garment. The entire garment is basically hold on to that. It's the same as today. If you put on your belt, female or male, if you don't put on your belt, what will happen to your pants? It will fall off. We need to put something that is holding on to your garments. And exactly what the Kohen HaGadol, the high official, he was doing. He was putting this belt so that way everything will hold. Remind me of the book of Judges. They needed to learn how the enemy worked. And what they did was they went at nighttime when they were asleep. They cut off their belts and other things among them. And in the morning or in the dawn, they went and fought with them. And when they got up, they just went and they couldn't hold themselves because they tried to put their belt on where they were gear. Their gear was on. And that's how they were defeated, among other things. So point is that without the belt, without the truth, we are nothing. We are holding to no foundation whatsoever. The Torah is the foundation of truth. The Torah is the foundation of you and I. The Mashiach is the Emet. The Mashiach is the one bringing the truth to all of us. But the problem nowadays is that it is a lot of mingle among the truth and the lies and traditions. Let me explain to you a little bit about Messianic minds. Messianism is what is called today a mix or a mingle of Christianity and Judaism. And it is more Christianity rather than Judaism. And they mingle everything and they invent a lot of things that are not even on the Torah. The point is that it's a mingle of Babylon. We need to be careful. We need to be full of the belt of truth. We need to be enwrapped, in other words, of the truth no matter what, no matter if it hurts. The problem nowadays in a lot of congregations is that the kehillah or the congregation wants to hear what they want to learn, but they don't want to hear about repentance. They don't want to hear about how to be a kadosh, set apart to Yahweh, but rather they like a lot of things from the world still. We need to be careful. We need to be more kadosh, more set apart to the Creator. Let's continue. Luke 12:35. Let your ways be chalatz. Do you see that? With belt and your lamps burning. Why? Because exactly this Mashiach is what he's giving to all of us is portions of the Torah. Torah gives a lot of portions, right? Mashiach is giving a little bit of portion of that portion of Tetzaweh, what we're learning today. What he wants from all of us is to put on the belt of truth and the lamp burning. These two things, lighting up and having the ways secure, is what we need nowadays. Part of it. We need to know what we're stepping on. We need to know what we're looking for. We need light, enlightenment in our lives, and that comes through the Torah. Let's continue with the next one. Hoshem, the breastplate of justice, of TZEDAKAH. This breastplate is something that the Kohen HaGadol, the high official, had. Put on the Hoshem, the breastplate of justice. What is it? Let's find out. These Hoshem have 12 stones. In each side was the Urim and Tumim. This will be telling the priest what to do and what was the answer and the decision that Yahweh wanted for the children of Israel. Exactly what we need, all of us, in order for us to know what we are going to make decisions in our lives. We need to know what we're stepping on. We need to know what we are looking at in our lives. If we're making a decision, it has to be a decision that the Creator has to be involved. If we don't involve our Creator in our decisions nowadays, we are not making a very wise decision. Remember, in every decision, either financial, spiritual, or morally, our Creator has to be involved so we can make the best decision ever. This Urim and Tumim, this breastplate, was going to make a decision, justice in our life. Exodus chapter 28, verse 15, or Shmuel, make the Hoshem breastplate the judgment. This judgment was going to make something good. It should be embroidered with a skilled craftsman. Make it like the work of ephod, make it of gold, techelet, blue cord, blue, purple, scarlet, and the finely twisted linen. Once again, it's something that we need to be in consider of how this breastplate was made of. Deuteronomy 6:25, it will be for us a tzedakah, a righteousness, if we take care to carry it and obey all as a duty, all these mitzvot before Yahweh, our Ayil, our Almighty, as He has commanded us. Why, brothers? Why do we need to know all this? It's because if we don't know about what the Creator wants from all of us, then we don't know what we are looking at in our lives. Once again, all this has to do with the right decision that you're making of. In order for us to have a better and a good and the best armor ever, we need to be enwrapped of all this. And knowledge is gold, to be honest with you. Let's follow with the next one. The feet of good news. 6:15, in the use of their feet of good news of shalom. Why? Why did Shaul has to speak about the the feet of good news. It's because the good news of the Torah or good news of salvation, a lot of people don't know about the real good news of salvation. They only have a mere shadow, vague explanation of what that is. But in reality, it has a lot to do with the Torah. It has a lot to do with the directions of Yahweh in our lives. Let me bring this. Exodus 3:5. He do not come closer, take off your sandals from your feet, because the place where you're at, are standing, is kadosh ground, is set apart ground. Let me ask you a question. What is the shoes made of? Usually are made of leather. Leather is something foreign, something that is not yours, something that you put onto your feet. What the Creator wants from us is to be genuine, original, unique, legit. All the feet are yours, are from the Creator that gave you those feet. You need to take care of those feet. And this has a lot to do with us. What the Creator doesn't want anything foreign from the world, but rather He wants everything from you. It is very important because the Kohanim, the high official, has to be barefoot. In other words, what the Creator wanted is He didn't want anybody to bring anything outside traditions, outside customs, outside practices. And exactly what the Creator wants from all of us. Not to bring any practice that is foreign, but rather follow Torah, Torah, Torah. Let me give you more explanation. Exodus 20 verse 34. Aaron will use when he ministers, and his sound will hear when he enters into Kadosh place before Yahweh, and when he leaves, so he does not die. These belts that he was wearing on is a belt that was telling him, you're still alive. You're still alive from the Creator to you. He needed to be aware where he was at, because if he wasn't, he was going to be struck dead. We need to be aware where we're standing on, brothers and sisters. We need to be as aware in what we're standing on, which is in high ground. Look at what it says here, Isaiah 52 verse 7. How beautiful upon the mountains of Israel are the feet of him who brings Besorot, the good news, proclaiming shalom, bringing good tidings of good things, announcing salvation, and saying to Zion, your Almighty One is King. Your Ayil is King. Mashiach is bringing the good news. We are doing basically what he came to do, which is bringing the good news to those who don't know. But I'm talking about the real good news, the Torah. See, a lot of people don't know Torah. They only know the Bible, but they don't know Torah. They only know about the New Testament, but they don't know Torah. How can we know Torah if there is no one that speaks to them? We need to do the arduous work to bring the Torah to the nations. We need to bring the good news who don't know these things. Let me give you, for examples. Chapter 8, verse 24, then the sons of Aaron were brought in. Moshe put some of the blood on the tips of their right ear, on the thumbs of the right hand, and the big toes of their right feet. And Moshe sprinkled the blood around the altar, the Mizbeach. Why do they need to do that? It's because they needed to seal the high priest. They needed to make sure that he was sealed to Yahweh. Why? Because this is a seal, okay, from the ear to the thumb to the big toes, thumb of the feet. They need to be sealed, and this was the same pattern when the Hebrew master did that to the Hebrew slave. They perform a hole into their ear, making them known, you are mine. You are my slave. You belong to my house. Yahweh is making this statement to all of us that we need to understand this. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Judges 1:6, but Ribon and Bezek fled, they pursued him, captured him, and cut off the thumbs of his hands and feet. Let me ask you, why is it written that way? It's because he was a warrior. Ribon Bezek was a warrior that was carrying shoes, of course, and also sword. In order for you to grasp the sword, you need to hold it with your thumb, just with your hand and your thumb. They cut off the thumb. How are you gonna hold how are you gonna grasp the sword? How are you gonna run? How are you gonna stand with cut off the big toes of your feet? You won't be able to stand well, firm, and you won't be able to grab and hold on to the sword. That's what they did to him. And exactly what we need to understand this concept. His anointed ears represent his ability to hear the voice of Yahweh. His anointed thumbs represents his handling of the sword of the Spirit in battle. His anointed toes represents his ability to run into the battle for the Kiddushim, set apart ones. We are called to be the kingdom of the priest. Do you see that? That's what is very important for us to understand this concept of the armor of Yahweh. Let's switch to another, the shield of persistence. I know they call it the faith, but in reality is persistence. In Hebrews is Emunah. Verse 16 is always carry the shield of faith, which you'll be able to extinguish the fiery darts of the wicked. What is one of the things that Satan is making around the world? Is the greatest lies of Satan is that Yahweh does not exist, but rather he exists in the world, Satan. But Yahweh doesn't exist. That is his greatest lies. Yahweh is very alive. He has been, and he always have been, forever and ever. And he will continue to do so. We are not. We are temporal. We are just for a wisp of time. We need to understand where are we standing. We need to have that emunah nowadays. Look at what Abraham did. Chapter 15, verse 1. Sometime later, the word of Yahweh came to Abraham in a vision, saying, "Do not be afraid, Abraham. I will be your shield. Your reward will be very great." That shield is what we need. That shield is what you and I need nowadays. This shield is the one that we continue to have so we don't fall, we don't go astray into what is called infidelity, which means you are unbeliever. Let me give another example. Chapter 17, verse 12 of Exodus, Shemot, Aharon and Hur hold up his hands, one in one side and the other one in the other. Does his hands remain? The word is faith, right? But that word is wrong. The word is firm. Perseverance. Emunah is what we need nowadays. This emunah, this persistence in our lives is that we continue to follow our Creator. Either you are sick, either you are healthy, either you are rich, either you are poor, either you have problems, either you have issues in your life. We need to be persistent into our Creator no matter what. That is when our Creator was using, this into Haron. Psalms 3 verse 2, many say to my soul, there is no deliverance for him in his almighty, Selah. But you, O Yahweh, are my shield. You are my kabot. You lift up my head and high. Once again, brothers and sisters, a lot of people, they can tell us, no, there is no creator, no, you are following false gods or whatever. No, we are following the creator of heavens and earth. He is our Yahweh Sebaot. He is our creator who will deliver us from us. Let's go into almost closing the helmet of salvation. Verse 17, take the helmet of salvation along with the word given by the Spirit, that is the word of Yahweh. What was the helmet of salvation? Shemot, or Exodus 20 verse 36, you should make a plate of pure gold engraved on it like engraving Melchizedek, Kadosh to Yahweh. That was be to engrave on it. Attach it to the turban with the blue cord in front of the turban. This is what the Kohen HaGadol needed to have. We are doing the same thing, brothers and sisters. We are having this in our lives, here in our heads, which is the Aleph Tau. The Aleph Tau is the seal of Yahweh in our minds, in our hearts, in our souls. We need to have that salvation, because without our Mashiach, we are nothing. Without our Mashiach, we are completely emptiness, worthless. And that's what we need to understand, this concept. Isaiah 59 verse 17, salvation is like a kabot, which is helmet on his head. He dressed in with garments of vengeance, wrapped himself in a cloak of seal. See, once again, this was written about 600 years before the common era. In other words, this is not written on the Greek mind, but rather in the Hebraic mind, in exactly what Paul is talking about. We need to understand, grasp all this so we understand what we are dealing with in this world. We are dealing with evil. We are dealing with all this. We need to understand why is it that we need to do in this era. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. We will see you next time. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah. Please subscribe if you have not done so. We'll see you next time.
Toda Rabba. If you like this video, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. There's more content in production. Thank you.